What are we clapping for?
We are clapping to sync up the audio from the video file to the audio file.
I didn't mean literally, but okay. Thanks. Thanks for that hilarious introduction, Willows.
You're welcome, Tyler.
Fantastic.
That was a great intro to Alcohol Beyond This Point, the podcast where we get drunk and discuss business topics, just like the Persians used to do in their parliament, as noted by the Greek historian Herodotus.
Yeah, and he did so with a Bud Light in his hand.
I don't think it was Bud Light they were drinking, but I could be wrong. I've been wrong on this podcast before.
It was canned either way. Aluminum goes back a long way.
It doesn't. Didn't they invent aluminum in like the 60s?
Yeah, because everything was like tin for a while.
Everything was glass, right? Like
glass, and then I guess
glass bottles. Like I think I think aluminum is like way okay. It might not be the 60s, but I think it's like way more recent than.
Well, think about airplanes, aluminum airframes.
That's a thing. Sketchy as fuck.
Yeah, that's what airplanes are largely made of.
Cheers! I have a lot of pent up energy today.
Oh, that's fantastic. I don't. I'm
So,
fucking bushed.
Nothing
man.
else has changed. This is you walked in here in a suit, and I didn't ask any questions because I wanted to ask some questions right now. I thought you sold all your suits, to be honest.
Why would I sell my suits?
I used to wear a suit every single day because you had to for work,
Mm-hmm.
and then you went. The next job you went like slightly more casual, but still like
Business cash.
business cash, and then you went like just cash, and now you just wear the same shirt and pants every single day.
I have like, yeah. I was gonna say I have like 4 of the same shirt that I like to rotate because it like gets all fucked up and dirty.
Yeah, because
so.
you do construction, right? So it's
Yeah.
like whatever. But
Yeah, no, it's true. It is a steady regression.
when I used to wear a suit every single day, even though no one was making me do it, it was kind of weird.
Yeah,
Just because I'm better than everyone else.
obviously.
And then I went into a deep depression and stopped wearing a suit. And now I'm still in a deep depression, but I try to force myself to wear a suit because if I do things that used to make me happy, then in theory, I will be happy again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's pretty shitty reasoning, but I get it.
You know
I get
what?
it. It tracks.
You can see that those are absolutely real tears if you're watching the YouTube version of this podcast on youtube.com/votewillows. Quick little shout out.
That was fantastic. We got it all in real early.
Yeah, now we can just focus on
Wow.
the meat and potatoes, which is business.
Business.
How many businesses are there even?
Right here.
That's very intelligent what you just said. You think we could get away with doing an entire podcast that like didn't make any sense? Like we like it just.
I think if you and I hit some acid really hard,
Are we not on acid right now?
if we
His eyes just widened. Oh, that would have been a better point to shout out the video version of the podcast. Damn it!
if we hit some acid really hard and then do a pod, can you imagine how awful that would be to listen to? 2 people
What do
on
you-
acid just talking.
What do you think the value of disassociates and hallucinogenic drugs? Do you think there's a value there? I already know the answer, but I want to talk about it.
Absolutely. I think it's fucking amazing. I love them.
Be careful
love
with
drugs.
be careful with what you say, but let's kind of dive into this. I think like people like Steve Jobs attributed like LSD to their success. Like he visualized like the Macintosh computer while on an LSD trip in a house that he rented with no furniture, if my memory believes.
Apparently he would do some, I don't know if it was acid. It might have been psilocybin, might have been
Pretty sure it was acid because
might
acid
have
was
been
much
acid,
more
yeah.
popular back then.
yeah, but he did it on like a monthly basis
I think so,
with
yeah.
a shaman.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
one of our mutual friends knows that shaman.
Yeah.
He's the guy that created the initial design for the ear pod, the original ear pod.
Yeah, it's
Apparently,
yeah, allegedly, yeah. This
Allegedly.
is all hearsay,
some deep allegedlys.
yeah, but yeah, I think there's more than one great work. Like I think the Beatles attributed LSD to a lot of their hits. Tech entrepreneurs, like there's a lot of people that attribute LSD specifically, but I think
Yeah.
psilocybin mushrooms, I think people as well. Like
Yeah,
can you
I mean,
you've done more hallucinogenic drugs than I have. Do you
Yeah.
want to speak to how that kind of alters your mind, like in a good way?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I did this in a different country.
Of course, we did the drugs in a country where it was legal.
Yeah.
Wink. We've never been committed of or convicted of a crime.
I've never been committed of a single crime.
I've never been committed. I'm a little bit tipsy, but talk to me how like LSD changes your perspective for the listeners that don't know.
I gotta say, my first experience with it was, it was very. I think that was probably the most potent experience, probably because of
Probably,
the new,
I think that's
of the newness, but also it was a really good night.
yeah.
There just so happened to be an incredible Northern Lights display,
That's cool.
and I had a townhome like at the edge of town, where like literally I was in the last row of houses before it was just like fields. So I just like walked out my door and just like barefoot in the freshly tilled fields, like in that like soft, wonderful topsoil that we have here, and just like rolling my toes in it, and, just scrunching it like it's beach sand, and then just like fucking walked off into the field until we found like a nice piece of grass to sit on. We sat there for like 3-4 hours just like looking at the grass and listening to bugs, and then watching the Northern Lights as they developed, and it just got like more and more and more and more intense until it was like 40% of the sky was just covered. It was the most intense Northern Lights we've ever seen. And that was verified by sober people. We weren't hallucinating that.
Yeah, you had a trip sitter,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, well, we had some friends that stopped by and brought us some food.
Because I've never done LSD for the record. I've done a lot of psilocybin mushrooms though.
Yeah.
Previous to doing mushrooms, what you always hear is like, oh, you're gonna see fucking elephants floating in the, you always hear shit like that, right? Like people that don't know anything about the drugs.
Yeah, I have gotten so little from mushrooms.
Yeah, no, me as well.
Like, it's basically euphoric.
The mushrooms, I did like this not the first time, but the second time I did like a fair amount, like as much as like our, the friend I'm talking about, he's a big guy, as much as he would take, I took. And I remember someone asked me if I was high after like an hour, and I'm like, no, I don't think so yet. I just feel like I'm coming up. And they're like, describe the feeling. So I described it, and they're like, oh no, that's what the high is.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Because I was used to doing like MDMA when I was younger.
Yeah, and after doing acid, that's kind of how the psilocybin trip felt.
Yeah.
Was just like I was coming up the whole time.
Yeah.
Apparently they're very good to combine.
That, yeah. Well, and then mixing psilocybin mushrooms with MDMA as well is
yeah. What do they call that again?
hippie flipping, I think.
Hippie flipping, yeah.
Because,
LSD is candy flipping.
Yes, because the MDMA swells these like receptors in your brain, and then the shrooms fucks with them. So it's like they work,
amplify.
Yeah, they amplify each other.
Yeah, and same with weed. If you add weed to either acid or psilocybin, it also amplifies. It's recommended to actually smoke weed on the come down when you're doing LSD.
Kind of loosen, like.
Yeah, because the come down on LSD can be pretty harsh.
Yeah.
And I'll share the story kind of my last time. I was with three other people. So and we're in a very safe space. We're like isolated in a cabin, very safe.
As isolated as you possibly could be.
Yeah, literally as isolated as we could. So it's in a very safe space, and I think probably it's usually about a 10 to 12 hour trip. And I mean, there's a lot of fluctuations within that, but I think at about like hour 8 or 9, I started getting really tired. I'm like, okay, it's been up all night, been alert all night. I got to just disengage. So I disengaged, whatever. I went back to my room and I lay down in bed. And I was in this weird like physical state. It was like it was almost like sensory deprivation causes the mind to wander, except I wasn't in a state of sensory deprivation. I was just laying in bed. So I couldn't tell if I was like hot or sweaty or cold, and then like my nose started feeling weird. Like I became hyper aware of like the air flowing through my nose, and it felt like, you know, when your nose gets really dry and you're about to get like a nosebleed.
Yeah.
I had that feeling. I'm like, oh my god, my nose is gonna bleed, my nose is gonna bleed, my nose is gonna bleed. And then all of a sudden, like, I couldn't quite decide on how fast I should be breathing, and then my mouth started feeling really dry, and I'm like, should I drink water? I'm like, I feel like I'm so dehydrated, I might die. And I'm like, rationally, I'm like, no, you're not gonna die. You had water like 20 minutes ago. You're fine. Like, just, I got to that level of like, I don't know if you ever like super greened out on weed when you like just get that like I'm gonna die feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
it was like that sensation for a little bit, and it was, I wouldn't say it was scary, because like I was kind of like able to be self-aware of the situation and just be
Yeah.
like, okay, this is part of the trip. You just got to ride it out. So I just relaxed, and it continued on for quite a while. But I I just kind of like laid back, and the room was dark. Closed my eyes, and I just started like going places. Like I was, you know, you just kind of get like that feeling of being so small and like insignificant, and then like the visuals even like behind my closed eyes, I guess, of like me like an atom flying around in the universe and like being insignificant and like rebounding off of other people. And it was just like really crazy visuals, and like the feeling of it, I can still recall it very accurately, and like all the visuals, like that's a good thing about doing acid versus like drinking a lot, is because
Yeah. I don't remember the fuck.
the memory is very clear for
Yeah.
me, and which includes the sensations and the thoughts and the realizations and the epiphanies, whatever, which is why I think it's useful, because it's not like other types of other ways of like getting high where you just kind of like numb and forget. Yeah, you just
Introspective.
you become
and
hyper alert
Yeah.
of what's happening. Like your like memory is everything to do with what you're recording, not so much what you can recall.
Yeah.
And on LSD, you're recording everything.
Yeah.
So I remember like all of that night in great clarity. But yeah, it just kind of set me on a weird course for the next like probably couple of weeks, couple of months after that. There's like a weird kind of like high euphoric effect that you kind of keep on, where you feel like you're in the clouds a little bit afterwards, and not in a bad way or like a spaced out kind of way, just where you're a little bit more introspective. And for me that time, I was just kind of thinking about a little bit more in depth about like, okay, what is my purpose in the world? I guess I was being more conscious of that, because most of the time you're just going around blindly accomplishing tasks, doing things. You think you know why you do things, but you just do things. Especially you're with whatever your job is or whatever your relationships are, you just get into like such an autopilot mode. An experience like that just like snaps you out of it, and you look at it from the outside, and you're like, why the fuck do I do that? Why don't I clean my room more often? Why is my car not being maintained? Why don't I wash my shoes? Like, you just become numb, and you stop seeing the world around you, right? So I don't know, it's been very useful for me in a lot of different ways. Each trip has been very different too.
Yeah, and I think like all drugs like that are very reflective of your mind. Like you were just talking
Your
about
state of mind at the time.
Yeah, and you were just talking about like you know, as soon as you found what you noticed one thing wrong, like your nose, then your mouth went dry. Like your brain just started fucking with you, right?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of people that get super bad trips, is that they start fixating on their bad trip, and then it makes it worse, right? And I remember Joe Rogan says that everyone should try DMT once in their life, which is a very, very powerful hallucinogenic drug.
Yeah.
Like more powerful than LSD. But
Much.
it's actually a natural chemical. It's the chemical that makes you dream. But you basically go into a fucking like zen like dream state for like
you go
20
to the
minutes.
moon.
And I've heard people say like it's 20 minutes, but it feels like days, like, or it can, and not in a bad way. It just feels like you're kind of living. Like, I've never done it, but whatever. Dimethyltryptamine.
Just like dreaming is not linear time. That kind of idea.
Exactly. So and he said, Joe Rogan said that like changed his entire mind forever.
Yeah.
And he was saying, I'm paraphrasing, but he was basically saying like, partway through his trip, he started thinking like, oh my God, what if this is bad? What if it's going to kill me? What if it's whatever? And he was seeing all these like bright colors and flowers and all this shit. And as soon as he started seeing bad thoughts, or thinking bad thoughts, then everything went like dark and angry and
Yeah.
like whatever. And then he was like, wait a second. And then thought a good thought, everything went happy again. Thought a bad thought, everything went dark again. He's like, wait a second.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
I can definitely verify that. Like, you, even like the mood in the room, like with this trip, like someone told like or said something really depressing and sad, and literally the room, everything feels like it's kind of vibrating sometimes, or moving or pulsing, like you can see or feel the energy in the room, and it like became tangible where we're all just kind of like looking around enjoying the visuals, and then a really negative comment was said, and all of a sudden like the room just like zhoof, and we all looked at each other, we're like, do you guys see that? And everyone's like, yeah.
which is
And
fascinating.
we all like,
Yeah.
it was like a shared hallucination where like
See,
all four of us saw it.
And that's what Joe's thesis was afterwards, was that your negative thoughts affect your real life. And
Right, like in a physical sense.
in a physical sense.
Yeah.
And that was when, and I think he was pretty young. He was like in his 20s
Yeah.
when he did it the first time, and it like illustrated to him, oh, all I need to do is be a positive person and I'll succeed wildly. And
Yeah.
that was like literally a switch in his head, and he never slowed down since.
Right.
And I've heard similar descriptions of those trips from some people, and apparently a lot of the people that do DMT do it like 4 or 5 times, and then they're just like, I don't feel like doing it ever again.
Yeah, no,
'Cause it's like I've learned
there's
all
nothing,
I need to.
There's
like,
nothing addictive about it. Like for LSD, I've done it. Like those 2 trips I told were probably, I think they were 5 years apart. And in between there, I think I did 3 other trips. So like the maximum I've done was, I don't know, 4. Yeah, I think the most, or the closest I've done LSD trips together was 10 or 11 months.
But that's like every time you need kind of a wake up call.
Well, I like had to make a conscious decision to go and do it. It wasn't like I needed it or wanted to. Like I just like, okay, yeah, no, it's been about a year. Like I think I should go do this again.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no. It's actually the opposite of addictive because it has a diminishing return. If you take it every week, you have to basically double your dose to have the same trip.
Yeah.
Which just becomes dumb at that point. And you can obviously burn yourself out because it is using finite chemicals in your brain and so on and so forth. But it's non-toxic, non-addictive, and is a Schedule 1. So
we don't recommend you doing LSD.
Well, I mean, it's hallucinogen, or psilocybin at least is probably going to be
legalized right away.
Yeah, at least taken down from Schedule 1 so it can be like properly
Actually,
hasn't it been?
Yeah,
it was taken down from Schedule 1.
So in Canada, we've moved our mushrooms to basically where marijuana used to be when it was illegal.
Okay.
So that they can use it for therapeutic reasons now.
Right, and research.
For over a year, we've been issuing mushroom prescriptions for like PTSD and stuff.
Good.
They can do that now, and they can use it in research labs and whatever. I think 5 years before it's completely
I mean,
decriminalized.
for reference, like Tim Ferriss is probably like the bleeding edge of this in the world right now.
Oh yeah, he's investing in a bunch of.
He's basically divested from everything, but like he's going all in.
I'll put it on the screen if I remember while I'm editing. But I invested in a EFT for or not EFT, like a hedge fund that invests in like an index fund that only buys hallucinogenic research companies.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it's like, I think it was like 17 cents a share or something, like super cheap right now, but I believe in that in the future. So
yeah, so do I. Like the results are just staggering where you have,
because I think like there's a lot of misconceptions with hallucinogenic drugs from like people that don't do drugs, that it's just like,
but it's all completely just engineered propaganda, like,
which is funny because the fucking like
too.
CIA was the one that was like pretty much inventing LSD. Like,
fuck, I love I think I actually heard this on a podcast, but I'm also reading a Jim Crow book right now, so I'm I'm crossing
you told
wires.
us, you're like, so I'm reading a Jim Crow book, and we're all like, excuse me, Tyler.
Yeah, it's called The Unusual Career of Jim Crow.
We thought you were like reading a book by Jim, like propaganda by Jim Crow.
Yeah, well, Jim Crow, fun fact, is like not actually a person, but it's like a term that came from somewhere. Like they're not even completely sure of who first started using the term. They can roughly source like when it started getting used and by who, like publicly recorded, but it was kind of one of those things. Everyone was using it by the time they were able to even nail that down. But anyways, it was just an offhanded comment, I think, by actually a podcaster, and he's like, yeah, basically when they lost slavery, they created Jim Crow.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
when or segregation laws, and when they lost segregation laws, they could no longer make it illegal to be black or disagree with the government. So instead of making it illegal to be black or disagree with the government, the CIA brought in heroin and introduced it to black communities, and then cranked up. Created the crack epidemic, and then they cranked up the enforcement and the law on drugs to then mass incarcerate and suppress those people, besides what the drug itself actually does. And then they did the same to marijuana, because who smoked marijuana? Everyone that opposed the Vietnam War. Like, that stereotype, right? Well, like they suppress the hippies, to suppress the free thinkers, to basically suppress the progressive generation and movement. They like made marijuana illegal. Like, that was the two things they did. They would infiltrate, and they would turn these black communities, the Black Panthers and shit, against each other.
Divide and conquer, right?
Introduce heroin, get them into gangs instead of community groups.
Yep.
Like, it's all fucking documented, and people are like, you shouldn't smoke weed. It's like, fuck you, Karen.
Before we get off of the drug topic, I just want to kind of reel it back in and say that there's probably a good case to be made that a lot of the world's business innovation has been done because of hallucinogenic drugs.
I would say at least an altered state.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's generalize it to altered state.
Like, I think the odds that Elon Musk hasn't done acid is pretty fucking low.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think he said on Joe Rogan that he hasn't.
Right.
But I don't know about that.
Remember what you told me about Moses and the burning bush?
Yeah, so
this is my favorite fact.
Yeah, apparently, so in the Bible, which is like basically fan fiction for like what's it called? Christianity. It's like their book or whatever, like that they think
it's literally called the book.
Yeah, whatever.
Anyways, I think I've heard of it. Yeah.
Whatever. But in this book, there's an episode where one of the main characters, Moses, goes up on this hill and gets these tablets from.
This is where the 10 Commandments comes from.
Yeah, he gets the tablets from God, and they're written in the stones or whatever, and he takes them down. He says, "Yo, I got these rules, whatever." And then there's a burning bush somehow involved. I don't actually know how it works.
Basically, he speaks.
Does he talk to the bush?
He speaks to the burning bush, and the burning bush is God.
Okay.
But it turns out.
So yeah, I watched this YouTube video where this guy was reading the passage from the Bible, describing the bush.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, now I'm going to read you a Wikipedia page of a bush. Tell me if this sounds the same. He reads like a Wikipedia description of a bush that grows in the Middle East where the Bible took place.
Or where this story took place, they say the specific mountain.
Yeah,
in the specific place. I think they know exactly where it
in
took
like
place,
Jordan or something, like modern day Jordan in the Middle East. They were able to find out where whatever. And this bush grows. And it's like, does that sound the same? It's like, yeah. So apparently this bush produces fruit, which is hallucinogenic. You eat these berries and it makes you hallucinate.
Oh, and also he said the bush was burning, but the fire did not consume the bush.
Yeah.
So it was on fire, but it wasn't burning.
Yeah. So what likely happened is he ate these berries and started tripping balls and was like, holy fuck, that bush is God.
And that's the 10 Commandments.
And that's why we shouldn't kill, but apparently we send people to die or whatever.
It's fine if it's for Jesus.
Anyway.
If you want a book that's internally consistent or logical, don't read that one.
There's a George Carlin quote where he was like, something along the lines of like, the Bible's a good book. He's like, if you're looking for other great works of literature, The Three Little Pigs, that's a great one. Like,
oh, jeez. Savage.
Yeah. But yeah, I guess before we get arrested or snitch ourselves out anymore, let's get off the topic of drugs. But let's transition into a segment that we call Shot Caller, which is the segment where you, the audience, can pick the shot that we take today. Today's shot comes courtesy of Hennessy Cognac. This is a bottle of it. And
Thanks.
thank you, Hennessy Cognac, for sponsoring this video. Here's your shot, Tyler. Cheers.
Don't need to chase this.
It's pretty smooth. It's a little bit warm, but
Hennessy
I breathed it in. I swear that wasn't a pussy cough.
cognac is supposed to be served smooth or warm.
Warm?
Sorry.
Yeah, because you're supposed to like shake it in your hand.
A cognac snifter is designed to take the warmth of
Yeah.
your hand.
If we're being honest, though, Hennessy is one of the worst cognacs.
It's not the best. At least this one.
It's just they got.
This is just the very special. This isn't even like that's the bottom end Hennessy.
It's just the
brand.
When this is a 375 mil.
Yep.
Was like $40.
Yep, that's the cheap one.
It's ridiculous.
Yep. Well, I mean, it is.
But they just have the brand name.
Yep. I mean, obvious. Well, all cognac is expensive. It's distilled red wine. Of course, it's expensive.
Not all cognac is expensive.
Yeah.
Though.
That's like the bottom.
I don't know about that.
I actually drink cognac, so. Like, you can't get a good, at least where we're from, you can't get a good bottle of cognac, or like any bottle of cognac for under $40.
Oh, yeah. We're.
Maybe a little baby one you get for
this
like
is a half
36
bottle,
bucks. Yeah, I think that's like 36 or $40 or something.
Whatever.
It's not a lot.
It's not a lot.
Not a lot of liquor. It is a lot of money. I've had a couple of like all the main staple cognacs that the liquor mart stocks, and yeah, I mean they're all around the price range. Obviously, Hennessy's no better.
So I just got my van wrapped. My work van. I got it wrapped with like my company's logo.
Yeah, finally.
Which thank you. It looks pretty good. I think you like it.
Yeah,
it's
fucking gorgeous.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. But here's a picture. Pop. The last episode, just a side note, episode 30, I fucking edited like too much. I was really bored.
Yeah.
So I was like, everything we said, I was like fact checking with like screenshots of the articles and stuff, and like
shit.
I put in I was quoting some clip. I put in the actual clip into the video and shit. Like I
Nice.
put in a lot of editing effort into the video version of episode 30.
Nice.
But who knows if I'll do it this episode. But here's a picture of my wrapped van. Anyway, my neighbor saw the wrap, and it's my company is Shrugging Doctor, and the logo is like a shrugging doctor. So it's
Go figure.
It's an illustrated doctor, right? So my neighbor
Like that one.
No, you can't see that on the camera. But
Damn.
my neighbor goes, "Oh, I love the wrap." I'm like, "Oh, thanks." And then she's like, "Yeah, if you ever make a plush toy of that doctor, let me know. I'll buy one."
Huh.
So I text my partner, and I'm like, "Yo, plush doctor toys, or even like an action figure. Like I have the Stonks guy,
Yeah.
something like that, but the doctor,
Oh yeah, like
Right?
what do they call those?
U2s with a Z,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, like a little toy, right?" And then we were talking about, we were like, we didn't quite get a quote, but we were like looking into different sites and stuff, and like what minimum pricing would be or whatever. And then my partner goes, "Is that politically correct?" This is what he sounds like. "Is that politically correct to make a toy that children commonly play with out of an alcohol company?"
I mean, it's an adult toy. Wait.
So then I was looking if like Captain Morgan had any like plush Captain Morgans or anything like that. No, they do not.
So it might be in poor taste. I like it.
Just like I remember someone one time was like, "Oh, you should have Flash games on your fucking," rest in peace Flash, by the way. This was before Flash died, but they were like, "Oh, you should have Flash games on your website, like with the Doctor as like a character." I'm like, I'm not gonna put online games on my liquor website for
That
children.
might be the government is like, that's entrapment of
Yeah.
minors.
Grooming.
Yeah, grooming them to drink more, and that's all he's doing is he's making liquor and getting really drunk,
What do you think
and
of
then starts and then does you have to do surgery.
while drunk?
But the game is like the wine you make before the surgery, and then once, depending on the type of wine or quality of wine you make, will decide how well or how badly the surgery will go. So once you finish making the wine, you sit back and you watch the.
I don't like any of those.
I think this is a
What do you think
million
of
dollar
the
idea.
What do you think of the drinking age?
I think it should be 16.
You think it should be 16?
Yeah.
Justify yourself.
Name one 16-year-old that doesn't start drinking.
I was about to say every 16-year-old I know gets drunk.
I mean, from what I've seen, is
In America, it's 21.
I know
What
like,
the fuck is that about?
From what I've seen, like from my time, partying, clubbing in those areas, like you have the only benefit is you get an older crowd in the clubs.
Because you've
which is
partied
great when you're older.
You've partied in America.
Yeah.
So you don't get any 18-year-old girls coming to the club on their birthday.
Or 18-year-old boys more so is the problem.
Oh no.
The girls are fine. They mind their own fucking business. They get drunk.
The boys are
The
molesting
18
people.
to 21-year-old boys
Are the
ruin
worst.
everything.
To be fair, 25-year-old boys ruin everything.
Yeah, if you're 30. So
Fair.
that's the only difference is like, you have a slightly more mature club scene.
But I mean, for
that's
public
it.
safety,
I don't think it makes a fucking
because
difference.
it's 18 here in Manitoba, but it's 19 in other provinces. So
I think,
here's how this works in Canada: every second province, it's 18.
yeah.
It's 19 in BC, 18 in Alberta, 19 in Saskatchewan, 18 in Manitoba, 19 in Ontario, 18 in Quebec.
Yeah.
For why? And then I think the entire Maritimes is 18.
Yeah.
But I don't know how that or why, but whatever. Yeah, 18, I think. If you can vote, you can drink, in my opinion.
I agree with that. If you can be sent off to war, you should be able to
Yeah,
drink.
because, in America, you can be drafted for
3 years.
3 years before you can legally purchase a beer.
Yeah.
Or, can you
Or
buy cigarettes?
Oh,
No, I think they're changing it now. It used to be 18. They're matching it in a bunch of states now.
Oh, okay.
So do you know why the drinking age in most states is 21?
No.
Actually, every single state is allowed to set their drinking age whatever they want. But if they set it any lower than 21, they don't get funding for roads anymore.
That's a fantastic caveat.
Yeah, Google that. That's real. The federal government has a caveat that says you get road funding as long as your drinking age is 21, or higher. If it's any lower, then you.
That sounds like some American Congress right there.
But for instance, Texas could be like, fuck it, drinking age is 16 now. We'll pay for our own roads.
Yeah.
If they were, but no one's
Right.
gonna say no to fucking money, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a real thing. Yeah.
That's wild.
But I don't think
that's
it-
very American.
I don't think it does anything to public safety. In fact,
It's like making drugs illegal. It
Yeah.
fucking doesn't do anything.
in fact, I've heard stories of college kids
Yeah.
who get alcohol poisoning and then don't go to the hospital because they're scared of showing up to the hospital drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
people fucking die.
It's like sex workers getting beat to shit and getting shorted, and they can't.
They can't go to the cops.
Yeah, they don't have any recourse.
Yeah, but if someone robs my liquor store, then cops are all over it, right?
Yeah, like the countries where sex work is fully legal and like they fill out their whatever T5 tax forms, and they can have websites and they're registered and licensed and all this shit. Violence against them is virtually zero.
Well, yeah, of course.
It's like
okay,
violence against them is the same rate as violence against fucking accountants.
I mean, this might be a false equivalency, but who walks into a strip club and punches a stripper? You know what I mean? It's like,
oh, you do. You're absolutely gonna get the fuck beaten out of
Exactly,
you
right?
behind a dumpster before they call the cops.
before they arrest you.
Yeah, they'll be like, you tripped.
Yeah. So
They're like all his legs and his arms are broken. It's like, yeah,
I don't
there's a
know.
lot of stairs. I don't know. Like,
that scene in Casino where they break the guy's hands for cheating,
yeah,
and then Robert De Niro's like, throw him out throw them out into the alley, tell the cops you got hit by a car.
Yeah, yeah, literally. Like that's what's gonna like not just because you're a piece of shit, but also because those bouncers are friends with the girls and they're just waiting for an excuse to lay hands on you.
So yeah, drinking age. Yeah, like I started drinking when I was 15. You started drinking way later, like when you were an adult, though.
I started when I got drunk for the first time when I was probably 18 and a half, but I didn't start drinking
until you met me.
Until we were friends.
Yeah, until you met me.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much.
So that's not even a joke. Like that is.
Well,
true.
I gotta say, it was also dually with Arturo. I didn't have an alcohol tolerance until Arturo,
our resident Spaniard, who you have to drink with.
He would take me out for a cerveza every day after work, basically.
Yeah.
So at least 3 times a week. So
yeah,
it was a lot of beer.
Anyway, but I started drinking when I was 15. But we had like, one of our friends' moms was like cool and was like, "Oh, you can drink at our house, but when you start drinking, you can't leave."
Right.
You gotta fucking be safe, be in our house, and then you can drink. And I think she bought alcohol for us a bunch.
Yeah.
Or her older sister would. But I would only drink on the weekends, like on a Friday, and then sleep over, with my girlfriend at the time, which my parents didn't know I had, and then, drink and they didn't know. And then, but I'd go to school every day, right?
Right.
But do you think there's, to be contrarian, do you think there's people that are dumber than us? I was trying to put it politely, but not. Dumber than us, more addictive personality, whatever, that alcohol being so widely available corrupts them. Like,
I don't think it would change the outcome. Because...
Well, look how Prohibition, look how well that worked, right?
I was going to say, like, it's so easy when you're 17, 16 to get alcohol because you probably have half a dozen friends that are of age.
Well,
and you're probably partying with, and you're probably going to parties with beer kegs and flats of beer. Like,
when half the vendors I went to when I was 16 would just sell me beer because I had a shitty little beard.
Yeah.
And then if they were like, "Oh, ID," I'm like, "Oh, I just left it in my car," and then I just walk out and go to another vendor.
Yeah.
Like, right? Yeah, we used to buy beer all the time. We used to buy 4 Locos all the time.
I remember when I was walking around. This was very exciting when Walmart first came to my small town.
Oh.
So like on whatever lunchtime, we'd go fuck around at Walmart because what else is there to do? And we were walking around, and one of my friends, he got offered a job, and you need to be 16 to work
How did this
at Walmart.
happen?
He was 13 at the time.
Some random person just offered him a job in the Walmart?
Yeah.
Why?
Because they needed people, and he was, I don't know.
Because he was tall?
He was very tall.
Oh, that's it. That's it. I cracked the code.
He's a very tall guy. He was like 6'2", 6'3" when he was 13. And, he just got fucking straight up offered a job, and his voice dropped like like an octave lower than most people's. And, he was buying beer and cigarettes and shit when he was like 15 with no, like, he has a baby face and still nobody asked questions because he had like a baritone voice and he was 6'3".
Yeah, I mean, my buddy used to, or not really my buddy, but a guy I used to know. When we went to the States and because we could drink in Canada, but we couldn't drink in the States.
Yeah.
We would go, and he used to have like he wore just a ring, whatever, like just on his, pointer finger or whatever. But he would switch the ring from his pointer finger to his ring finger.
Yeah. Put
Put a phone to his ear.
Yeah.
Grab a 30-pack of fucking whatever, MGD, go to the checkout, and while he's checking out, be like, "Babe, I know. I got off work like half an hour. I'm literally going to be home in 10 minutes. Can you please?" And then, like, as he's checking out, and he's like, "Sorry." like looks at the guy, he's like, "Sorry." And the guy's like, "Oh, no worries," right? He has this, like, and you can see the ring because he's holding the phone.
Yeah.
He's like, I just stopped at the store. I'll be literally 10 minutes. Okay, bye. hangs up. Fucking kid's sick again. Like, guy's
Yeah.
like, oh man, I get it, checking him up. And like,
Yeah.
I watched him do that successfully like 6 times.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And we were in a place where we were hanging out with a guy from there.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no, this is like a Christian community. We were in like Wyoming. He's like, this is a Christian community. They are strict with IDing you.
Yeah.
Every single time it worked. Like,
That's beautiful.
it was pretty good.
That's a good ruse.
It was a good ruse. It was like too complicated for my liking. I usually just try to buy it. If they say no, I'm like, okay, and then leave. But
No. Remember this one that we tried? Like, and to be fair, we did this when we were like 24. Went into the liquor mart, and then at ours,
the air miles
they always
thing?
ask for air miles. Or sorry, no, they ask for your ID. And then they ask for air miles.
Our liquor stores are government run in this province, and we just try.
So they're all the same.
Yeah, we just fuck with them
because it's fun.
So they had a mandate out that they had to ID everyone because people were slacking. So they changed their. They sent out a memo that's like, make sure you're fucking IDing people. And so we're like, okay, we're just gonna see if we can not get ID'd, right?
Yeah.
So we're buying shit, and they're like, in the middle of asking for my ID, they're like, do you have an? And then I'm like, I hand them my air miles card, and I'm like, yeah, I have an air miles card.
While they're asking for ID.
And he's like, yeah, and then takes it, scans it, and he's like, how would you like to pay? I'm like, oh, MasterCard. They're like, yep, tap.
Yeah, because you just jumped a step
because I threw it off. Yeah. And because I had conceived of that because I have my pitch that I do at farmers markets, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, hey, ever heard of Shrugging Doctor? We're actually Winnipeg's only winery. We make a lot of different fruit wines, grape wine, cider, mead, sangria, different things like that. We have 12 of our products here today. Anyway, but I'll have that, and I have a bunch of different speeches for different things, right? So if someone asks me like, oh, where's the name come from? I have like a whole whatever, and I can do it without even thinking, right?
Yeah.
But I've had people cut me off, and then I can't get back to where I was.
Yeah, you gotta start over.
You ever like what's the letter after T? Go.
U.
What's the letter after? Oh. Fuck. Okay. I have to sing the whole song.
Yeah, I just go element. Oh fuck.
I have to get it in order to get there. That's exactly how it is.
Yeah.
Is I have this thing memorized and I can't get there without restarting it. So I'm like, you know what? These fucking people say it 6,000 times a day. I guarantee you, in his head, he's just going, ID, air miles, how would you like to pay? Like, that's what's happening in his brain while he's thinking about, like, what he's going to cook for dinner. So I threw off the fucking, threw it off, and it worked. Like, I think on 2 different occasions, I'm pretty sure.
I've done it, like, I've succeeded virtually every time, except I don't have an air miles card. So what I do is when they ask for ID, I just put up the card. I put up my Visa card.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they're like, oh, MasterCard or Visa, whatever. And then I get them that way.
Yeah.
Or even better, I've challenged myself because now this is a fucking game for me.
Yeah.
I challenge myself and I will interrupt them with conversation. Okay. That way is a lot harder to engage their attention enough with something that you can just say right off the hop that makes them disrupt, and then you do the card.
Yeah.
So it's a good like 1-2 punch. I find that the say something interesting, flip them the Visa card, you don't get ID. It's pretty funny.
So here's your tip if you want to buy alcohol underaged.
I mean, if you look really underage, they're gonna the only thing on their mind is gonna be like, this fucker's underage.
Okay, you look underage, number one.
Yeah, well, I can look either 28 or 18 though.
Number 2, we're full adults and we're still doing this just to see if we can. I like chaos more than you do, and you think that'd be a contradictive point for a business owner?
No, it's not. No,
because business is chaos.
Not based on any business I've ever worked for. Like, I like low key miss the chaos, I guess, and the insanity of just having no idea what you're doing, but forging on ahead anyways with a lot of confidence.
Making it to the end of the day every day.
Yeah, getting out of a jam and being like, whew, they didn't figure out I don't know what I'm doing.
That's
I kind of miss that.
We were talking about this yesterday. Like that's like that's what keeps me going in my business, is that all the government mind games I got to play with them, and the negotiation and the lobbying and all this shit. Like, that's more fun. Like, figuring out, like, I make too much money now.
Yeah.
Like, when we were 3 years ago, I had to figure out how I was going to pay the bills at the end of the month. And we had to get fucking creative.
Yeah,
like,
you guys were finessing
everyone.
Yeah, you were finessing every dollar. You were finessing every vendor.
Yeah, like, I was constantly, like, I took merch pre-orders, used the money to pay rent, and then leverage that to do something else to get money to pay for the merch. And then and that was, like, keeping me engaged. Now I'm fucking bored.
Yeah.
But that's why I try to start new projects. Like, I with the bar and everything, like, I was doing new like, we renovated and opened a bar, so I was, like, planning events and doing stuff, and then fucking COVID-19 happens. But I was kind of having my second wind, my kind of upswing.
Yeah.
But now I'm just gonna kill myself because of the fucking pandemic. But
it's fine.
Yeah, the current rate of vaccinations, our province will be fully vaccinated by the end of 2022.
I thought it was February 2022.
That's not better, right?
No, it's like 10 months out.
Well, and apparently they have so many stockpiled, and then they're, like, going bad.
Oof. Yeah, no, it's getting it shots in arms. They're going too slow. But yeah, back on the missing the thrill and the rush.
Yeah.
I think honestly, it's just, like, the sales part of it. I really hate doing just straight sales work. Like, if that's just my only job, if I'm a salesman, I don't like it. Like, there's not enough variety for me.
Well, you're an operations guy.
It doesn't. Well, I'm not an operations guy though, because I love my favorite part about my job is usually intense negotiations, meeting with people. Like, I love process. This is why I've always really, really struggled fitting into companies, is because 1 month I'm in love with doing sales, another month I want to sit in my office and write copy, and then the next month I just want to be an operator.
Which is great for me as a business owner, because whatever I'm feeling that month, I can do and make my employees do the other shit.
Exactly. Well, that's why I'm happy now, but my business isn't moving as fast because it's small and it's young, right?
But it will be, right?
Right.
Like,
no, so it's what I was getting to is, like, there's, like, the carrot and the stick. The carrot for me is getting back to that variety, getting back to the wheeling and dealing, as we say.
Wheeling and dealing.
Wheeling and dealing. It basically means you're just gunslinging, making shit up, you're doing deals, and you're getting yourself into trouble.
Finessing grifters.
We
say so many fucking words and no one knows what we're talking about.
That's fine. That's my carrot, and the stick is repetitive physical labor. So I got a good incentive system set up for me right now to, like, scale my business. So yeah, I just gotta fucking get on that. I think it's gonna be really good. I think it's gonna be a really good year, really good summer for me. But
I'm optimistic as well. Do you get a lot of satisfaction in the physical side of it, right?
Oh yeah, like I can absolutely lose myself in a task, but that's my point, is, like, I get satisfaction out of all of these things.
Yeah.
But too much of any of them drives me a little crazy.
Okay.
So
being an employee, you're always going to have too much of one thing because they need you to do what they need you to do.
Right. No, I got passed over for probably the biggest job I ever applied for whatever big tech company, to be a community development manager or whatever the fuck. They passed me over because they didn't think that I would be fitted to a specific role. They're like, you have a diverse skill set and you have a personality, like, you can do all these things. They're
gonna step on everyone else's toes.
They're like, you're number one, you're gonna step on other people's toes. Number two, like, you're not gonna be having this position where we just want you to do this one thing and hammer away at that.
And how old were you when this happened?
22.
Do you think at the time, did you think that was an accurate representation?
Yeah.
Okay, so even
100%.
Okay.
I agreed with it.
Okay.
I'm like, Thank you for saying that, because I'm like, I probably would have hated working for this, and I would have been like banging at your door, be like, what else could I do?
Okay, because I know now, obviously, you do think that was an accurate rejection, but it's interesting.
I didn't hear it. I didn't hear it immediately though. Like it took
okay.
it took a while for me to get that feedback.
Because that's interesting that even at the time you're like, yeah, that makes sense. Like we're both pretty self-aware, I think, of our strengths and
in that regard, at least when it comes to like, you know, things that are not business related, we're both pretty fucking oblivious.
Yeah. Well, what else matters?
I don't know.
Business.
90% of people, when you ask them who they are, or if you ask someone who are you or what are you, 99% of the time they'll say what they do for work.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, let's dive into that. I was just gonna say, the only thing that matters more than business is
fucking
Star Wars trivia and sex. Yeah.
yeah.
But yeah, that's an interesting thing. So, like, I don't understand, like, pride in anything that you're born with. Like racial pride, ethnic pride, gay pride. Well, okay, gay pride has a different connotation, obviously, but like, you're born gay, you're born Italian, you're born Jewish. Like, I don't, like, it's an accident of birth. I don't understand why you're proud. Like, you can be happy. Like, I'm
gonna rebuttal you on this one, because
Please do.
I know what you're talking about.
I purposely have been trying to go more controversial in these episodes,
that's good.
so that you'll debate me.
Okay, so I get where you're coming from, which is why I don't usually disagree with you, but I'm going to disagree with you today because
for content,
and also because I do.
Okay.
But like ethnic pride, racial pride, and whether it's sexuality or gender, whatever,
yeah, anything like that.
Put X there. I think those sects are like, it's valid to make that a big part of your life, because being proud of that is controversial. And it just is.
Okay.
Like, the fact that we even have to talk about it, the fact that we even have to preface our opinions, just validates the fact that it is controversial. And there are people out there being controversial about it. Like,
I guess what I'm saying is different than what the reality of the world is. I'm like, I wish people would just be proud of their own accomplishments, not proud of something they were born into.
It's because for us, like, yeah, being gay, it's like, yeah, okay, whatever. It's like a foregone conclusion that that's an okay and good and acceptable thing to be.
But for a lot of people, it's not.
Exactly.
Okay, which is...
So for us, it's like, we want to move past that. But like we were talking about yesterday,
I guess
in our mastermind with politics, like, a lot of the things that we accept as foregone conclusions are just not...
for the rest of the world
acceptable, because there's so many people that disagree with it. Like, these things that we want to move past are still issues today and still have to be addressed and talked about. Not because of anything we have to do with it, it's just because for some fucking reason it's still contested that the color of your skin is any gravity towards who the fuck you are.
I saw on Twitter someone who was like homosexual and like married to another man, like, that was like anti-trans people. They were like, yeah, it was wild, because I read the whole thread. It was like fucking 1,000 tweets of people like arguing, and he was like, I'm not gonna get mad, I want to explain my position. And he was basically like, yeah, like, you can be bored. It was basically, I think, like, what is a TERF? Trans exclusionary feminism or whatever, radical feminism, where, okay, that's a whole different thing. But like, it was basically like, I think his position was like, you can be born gay, but you can't be born a woman, or you know whatever.
Okay, great, yeah, that's the line in the sand.
That's what I said. It's
that's
like,
the line in the sand, you stupid fuck.
Like, the fact, or like, I had a roommate that was super homophobic, but was black. And I literally said one time, I'm like, dude, does that not bother you that you're like persecuting a group of people for something they were born with? Like, looking at him, I'm like, you know, you're just making general. He's like, all faggots are like this. I'm like, Okay, so you're making a generalization about homosexual people because of just how they're born, right? So one, whatever. Leaning in, I'm like, yeah, okay, all right. Fuck, I'm glad I don't have that person in my life anymore. Yeah, it's just like, I don't understand how someone who could be like his grandfather was like persecuted for the color of his skin,
Yeah.
and now he's persecuting somebody based on who they want to sleep with. It's fucking ridiculous. Like people are insane.
That's why you need to do drugs, so that you can see the insanity of your ways.
Okay, I guess my point was maybe this may have been a problematic tangent by going into the LGBT community, but I don't like people that make some like why. I'm very, very proud of the business that I've been able to create because I find it's like a self-accomplishment. Like it's an accomplishment that I put calculated effort into and was able to get out of a bad place into a good place.
Yeah.
But there's people that are just happy with nothing. You know, I guess this is kind of going into a different issue. Where it's like not even happy, but it's like they just settle.
Yeah.
For nothing, for like, I don't know.
You stop believing.
I don't know what my point is, but I just want I think we should just
stop fucking hating each other.
I just want everyone to love each other. I love everyone.
That's how you know the Hennessy's hitting hard.
Because I love everyone. I get a side point now that I'm kind of thinking about it. As far as like the gay pride goes, that in itself I can acknowledge as an accomplishment. Like being gay openly, you know, in a world where there's a lot of people that don't support it at all, or, you know, they think you're whatever, some sort of degenerate bound for hell or whatever, just for the way you're born. Being able to just be yourself and overcome that, I think maybe is something to be proud of in and of itself. So I might retract some of those statements, but I'm going to keep them in with editing. I'm gonna
like 30 years ago in the UK,
dude, people still get killed. people still be getting killed for being gay. Like it's
100%.
Fucking. Okay.
I'd like to believe that humanity's moved past it.
It's only because
we absolutely have
no.
not.
It's only because we've moved past it mostly in this country.
At least everyone that we interact with.
Well, we purposely don't interact with anyone that doesn't.
Well, I don't have much of a choice because I'm from there and like my family.
I guess you're. Yeah.
Like if I came out as gay, like that would be a.
Oh, the whole town would shun you, probably.
Well, I don't give a fuck about the town.
I know you
but
don't.
Like my grandparents probably would never see me again. Like it's real in my life.
Here's a little or even like someone very close to us misgendered somebody.
Yeah.
And even though I care about them and value them, I'm like, that's unacceptable.
Yeah.
Right? Like I'm auditing my fucking circle.
Yeah.
Like I don't want that energy. Anyway, but here's a little caveat before you said you had a topic. But my I guess cousin, my uncle's kid from his first marriage.
That would be a cousin, yeah.
Yeah, who I've met her like 5 times in my life. But she's great. She's gay. She's I don't think she's married, but I think she's dating a girl for a long time. And when she came out to everybody, my dad was telling me this story the other day because I went over for Easter for an outdoor thing. Don't worry, COVID. He was telling me that when she came out, she told my uncle, and obviously they're all boomers, and I think this is a while ago, so they're all calling each other to tell, whatever. And my aunt was like freaking out, was like, oh, I don't know. I don't think she wasn't personally against it, but like my family's pretty tolerant. Like,
Yeah.
they're pretty left leaning as far as like,
At least like center left.
they're
They're not rocking the boat people.
no, they don't. No, they're pretty. They don't give a shit. They don't understand, I think, a lot of stuff,
But they don't care.
but they don't care.
They won't oppose it.
But they were calling and this is when my grandparents were alive on that side of the family, and they were old at the time, like in their 70s or 80s, and my aunt was freaking out because they're like, we can't tell fucking grandma and grandpa, like we can't tell them, like that's it, like it's like they're gonna fucking flip out, we can't fucking tell them. It's like, well, how the fuck is she gonna come for Christmas and have a girl? Like, we have to tell them.
Yeah.
So they tell them, and my grandma goes, oh, good for her. And they're like, oh,
She grew up in the 60s.
no, early, like this is my grandfather fought in World War II.
Right. I grew up in the 50s. Yeah, I guess
He
so.
grew up in the 30s.
Yeah,
like,
I guess was like a full-ass adult by the time the sexual
he
revolution comes through, yeah.
Yeah, he was 20 in World War II. He was like, he was in the Navy.
Oh, it's like old.
Well, he was, there's you've seen the boat picture
So
in my room.
then he's like 100.
He's dead. He's been dead for 10 years. Like,
Yeah, fair.
yeah, but yeah, but whatever. No, he fought in World War II. But and they thought they were gonna be like the problem. So like, we can't tell. And they were like, yeah, okay, yeah, of course, that makes sense. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, it was just, it's interesting.
But they weren't like far right religious.
No.
Like my family.
No, but it's just, it's
You
interesting.
assume the traditionalism is there.
I'm just like, the people that you think wouldn't be okay with this stuff.
Yeah.
Could be, like, it's fascinating.
Oh, actually, that's a perfect segue into what I was reading yesterday in this Jim Crow book. Was they found that urban segregation is virtually impossible to accomplish.
What do you mean?
Or at least urban slavery. Like
Slavery?
Just the slavery model of like white people owning black people.
Oh, like it had to happen on plantations that were in the middle of nowhere?
It had to happen rurally. Like a less than 5,000 person population.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you put into an urban center of over 5,000 people, the integration was inevitable. Because think about, how does slavery work in an urban place? Like, okay, you have maybe a black woman as like your maid, and then you have a black man as your like driver and does whatever stuff around the house.
Dude, slavery's so
like,
fucked up.
So you own these people.
Yeah.
Which means they are completely involved in your life and your physical space and where you go, where you live. Just by default, you cannot segregate black people from white people, because the white people own the black people and the black people make the white people's lives possible. So they're completely intermingled. And then when you add on, it's past 11 o'clock, you're all drunk. You got black people working the bar. You got white people drinking at the bar. They're all intermingling anyways. Like, it was kind of like an unseen, unacknowledged part of urban life. And this is why cities turn blue and countries turn, rural areas turn red, right?
You're saying
like Democratic versus Republican, conservative versus liberal, right?
There you go. Thank you.
So in the cities, they could not sustain conservatism. They could not sustain slavery. They could not sustain Jim Crow, because inevitably, by having a superior and an inferior, you force integration, which is actually why, this is fascinating as well, a lot of the anti-slavery people were more racist, because they were so racist that they're like, they don't want black people close to me. Like, I'm so disgusted by a black person, I don't even want to own them so they can serve me. I want them over there.
And it's not like
that's how the North was. The North was so racist, they didn't want black people close to them as slaves, so they wanted them over there.
And people forget how recent this was.
This
right?
is fucking. This is 100 years ago. This is fucking disgusting.
People's great grandparents lived this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So, along with that, like, you have segregation becomes impossible in urban centers. And what became a kind of a phenomenon is there was an imbalance of genders, which, I mean, there can never be a complete imbalance of genders except by, maybe 10, 15 percentage points, which is artificially driven by trade or work or whatever. But in the cities, they found that there was an imbalance of an excess of white men and a shortage of white women, and an excess of black women and shortage of black men, because the black men were being sold off for trade and slavery, and the white men were then becoming intimate with black women and having mulatto children. Now, the urban centers would have up to 40% of the population would be mulatto, of the black population was mulatto, and in rural areas, it was maybe 10, 12%. But yeah, in urban centers, 36, 40% of the population was mulatto because the white men were sleeping with the black women. So the intimacy was inevitable. It was just, it's fascinating. I'm 18 pages into this book. It's fucking amazing. It was written in the 60s.
Well, you think about all these, American... even the founding father, Thomas Jefferson, raped, had a fucking baby with a slave that he raped and stuff.
I mean, that's just par for the course. It's fine.
I can't... it's so hard to even fathom somebody's mindset for this.
Well, I love it because the mindset doesn't even survive practice, yet they try to stick to it.
Because they're like, oh, white people are better, they shouldn't associate with black people, but I'm going to have sex with them.
Exactly. But they fall in love with a black girl.
It's yeah.
That's how you get this I hate the gays, but also
all these
they secretly have a man crush,
all these
and get a hard on from a certain dude with a six pack that they saw naked one time in the steamer room.
All these anti-gay politicians that get caught with gay prostitutes.
Yes,
right?
Exactly. It's it's everyone's had a fucking gay movement. Don't even come at me with that.
No. Anyway, but
it's that Kevin Hart bit when he's like, the hardest thing about being a parent is understanding when to step in. He's like, so the other day my kid had a gay moment. He's like, he was on top of this other kid and he was humping him. He's dry humping this kid. And he's they're 4 years old. He's like, I didn't know what to do. He's like, now that I got a problem with it, it was I just ran over and I smacked him. He's I didn't know what else to do. He's you cannot isolate the ideal from reality, no matter how much you fucking try.
When I always say all this race and sexual issues, all that is just
it becomes null and void once it becomes a part of your life.
Sure, but I think it's they in quotations focus on that to keep us fighting over shit that doesn't matter.
Right, it's a hill to die on to distract you from the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, it doesn't fucking why does it matter? Why does anyone give a shit about trans people or black people? Or why do we give a care?
Yeah,
you don't care about giving 50% of your money away to taxes and fuck it. What is happening? But they can do, the government, whomever, the Illuminati, whomever, can do whatever they want because you're arguing whether a trans woman should be able to use the bathroom or not.
And they're we don't give a fuck.
You ever see that? There's a video. Caitlin Bennett, the gun girl, the girl who was wearing an assault rifle at the.
I don't know.
Okay, so there's this woman called Caitlin Bennett who carried an assault rifle to her university.
Okay.
And she got famous for that. But then someone found a picture of her at a party, passed out drunk. She had shit her pants.
Oh,
and there was shit everywhere. So and people call her the poop girl or whatever on Twitter. But anyway, she's a terrible person. She's homophobic and all this shit, right? Anyway, but she had a series where she would kind of like Louder with Crowder, where she would go onto university campuses, and put a mic in people's faces and try to ask them questions to make a YouTube series or whatever. And she had one where she was asking do you support, you know, people that just say they're a girl using a woman's washroom, right? Because that's always the fucking conservative argument. Is like, oh, these fucking old men are just gonna say they identify as a woman and then go molest kids in the fucking washroom.
Are they?
No, I don't think that's ever happened.
It's like,
right?
name one pedophile that will actually admit that he's a girl.
Like, dude, okay, whatever. But you've heard that argument before, right? Yeah, that's definitely an argument. So anyway, this Caitlin goes around and is basically using that argument. Oh, just because whatever, right? And then the clip that I saw, it's like when a libertarian, in quotations, which is what she identifies herself as, but she's just a fucking Christian conservative, meets an actual libertarian.
Yeah.
It's just some fucking guy in a hoodie with a backpack, like some college kid, right? And she's like, what if fucking, using the woman's washroom? He's like, I don't care.
What do you think about putting urinals in women's restrooms for women who have penises and they just want to stand and pee?
I think people just making too big of a deal about it. I don't really care.
Okay, so we should or shouldn't?
I mean, I don't really care.
What about tampons and pads in men's restroom for men who have periods?
If you're really getting that worked up about it, why does it matter? Like, I don't care. It's just sitting there. I'm not going to take it.
So we should provide men with tampons.
I mean, if a dude wants a tampon for some reason, he can have a tampon. That's not my business.
What would he use it for?
I don't know. That's his problem.
What would he use a pad for?
His problem?
Do you think they should seek medical advice if they're having bleeding?
I mean, if they want to, I don't really care. Why should I care?
No, I care about people. If they're bleeding out of their penis, I would want to...
I care about people's personal rights. They can do whatever they want. It's none of my business.
It was like when a libertarian meets a literal libertarian. And it was just some guy's like, doesn't fucking matter. Like,
doesn't matter. It's like, why are you asking me about my tampon habits?
The amount that these conservative
aren't
people...
you concerned? Anything that follows that, just shut the fuck up.
I don't give a shit.
Just shut the fuck up.
Like, the amount that Christian conservatives think about other people's genitals is fucking ridiculous. Like,
right?
You know how often I think about the other person in the stall when I'm taking a shit in a public bathroom?
I have been at
not very often.
a 100% gay, coke-fueled after party.
Of course.
Nobody's talking about genitals.
Yeah, because fuck. No, but it's...
No, they're not. They're talking about fucking music.
These people are going to put on a dress and try to molest your daughter, though, in a woman's bathroom.
No, they like dudes.
Yeah, I know! Christ.
Old, hairy, fat, chubby dudes.
I don't understand how... Like,
it's not...
It's not logical, right?
Like, it's just... We started here with the good book. It's not internally consistent or logical.
Yeah. Well, because it's
that's okay.
It's like, have you ever been to a public bathroom?
Once or twice.
You're just like in a stall or in a urinal, right? Like
There's no interaction.
You don't interact with
nobody's talking to nobody. Nobody's touching nobody. Everyone's staying far away, especially now.
Like,
we're washing your hands. You're like, if someone says something to you, you're like, is he high?
Yeah, I never talk. I'm like, don't talk. I've literally said that to people before where they're like, oh, I'm like, don't talk to me when I'm in the bathroom. Like, literally. But like, you ever been to like a football game and you're pissing beside like a 2-year-old?
Yeah.
Not a 2-year-old, but like, like an 8-year-old. Like, is at the urinal beside you? You know what I'm not doing? Looking at the fucking 8-year-old. Like, I don't even acknowledge it. You know what I mean?
Unless they're like standing the wrong way and like pissing on the floor.
Or their pants are all the way down?
Yeah.
No,
like
but
down
like,
to their ankles, and you just kind of laugh.
But even then, you're like, yeah, whatever. Like, the amount that fucking conservatives...
And also, like, what... I want to stay on this bathroom thing. Like... Nothing happens in bathrooms that's not going to the bathroom, because like if like let's say two people are having straight sex in the bathroom. That is really disruptive. Someone will tell security, like,
I've done it before.
Someone will be triggered.
You can do it at a club though, because it's super loud.
Right, no, it's fine. And people are drunk. But
yeah.
There's also a decent chance you'll get chucked out.
Yes.
If you get caught, right?
I didn't get caught, but we also didn't do it for very long, so.
Right, but we're not talking about club bathrooms here. We're talking about like shopping malls.
We were talking about where children would be, right?
Yeah, we're talking about like shopping malls. Like, if you see 4 feet under, like in like a stall,
yeah.
you would like you're going to maybe assume it's like a parent and a child, and they're like yelling at their kid to like just sit down. Like, if there is anything remotely sexual happening in a bathroom, everyone, red flags, boom. Like everyone noticed it. Like nothing happens there.
But I guess like
nothing. Like it's not a discreet or private place.
One of the biggest problems though is that I think homophobic people associate the LGBT community with
bathroom hookups.
No, like get rid of. Stop talking about bathrooms. With like
that is a thing.
With like degenerate behavior.
Yeah.
Right. Where I always hear like, oh, I don't care if you have your pride parade, but don't fucking be naked or whatever. Like.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Where they're, because that's like one of the best examples of the slippery slope argument.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, if you allow gays to get married, then you're gonna allow trans people to get married. When then you allow
old men to get married to children.
Yeah. You allow because pedophile is just a fucking.
It's not hard no.
Well, that was a psyop, actually, was that a right, far-right, like neo-Nazi group created a MAPs, which is minor attracted people.
Right.
And made a Twitter account, made all this shit, and was like, yeah, it's just another sexuality. We're just attracted to minors. We got to normalize that. But then... And then, so that was used as like the right being like, holy fuck, look at what we did. We allowed gay people to get married. Now look at what's happening. Right?
Yeah.
But people did like IP tracking and shit and found out it was actually like a far right group that had made it as like a psyop.
Yeah, that's fair. And like the LGBT community is like, consent is very high priority.
Consent's high for everyone, right?
Well,
like,
but even
no,
more...
except these conservative politicians that are raping people. Like...
Right? No, because they assume it's their right to fuck any woman that comes into their office and begs for a job.
The irony, right?
Yeah.
Like, ugh, man, I don't even want to talk about it anymore. This is like
I hate it. I hate people. I hate the universe. I hate politics.
We're going into dark place.
Okay, so what I was going to actually bring up, I still haven't brought up my SIGU.
Oh, perfect.
Is your Facebook post the other day of I don't want to hire anti-maskers.
Oh, here's it. Okay, good. Yeah. So I made a Facebook post. I'll put it on the screen if I remember. I basically said, I don't care whether the pandemic is real or not. It could be fake. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Whether the government's response is justified or not, I don't know. I'm not a political scientist. I don't fucking know. I will not be hiring vocal anti-maskers after this for any of my businesses.
Yeah.
And my justification, and I don't post stuff.
People are like, human rights issue.
I don't post.
I love it.
I don't post stuff.
Not usually, no. You say this in the comment section. You don't make posts like this.
I don't post stuff that I knew it was going to be controversial before I posted it. That's why I posted it.
You're bored.
Yeah. But, yeah, and then I went on to say that people that are super anti-mask and vocal about it are, in my opinion, generally of lower intelligence and much higher stubbornness, which I think would make a bad employee. I think they will not be able to adequately perform their duties at my business.
Yep.
And I had a lot of comments, 600 if I recall. I muted it a long time ago. Random people are still arguing.
Yeah.
I'm not involved anymore. I haven't responded.
You just triggered the fight and walked away.
That's usually what I do, though. Yeah. But whatever. But yeah, one guy was saying, you're going to get a human rights tribunal fucking... I'm like, no, like, that was just bullshit. Like, he's like, I've seen many cases like this. No, you haven't. No. Show me one. No, you haven't. Because I think someone else was like, show me one, and he's like, do your own research. Like,
yeah. No,
you haven't. I can absolutely not hire people I think are going to do a shitty job at their job. Fuck off. Like, that's, but even if COVID is fake, the fact that they like super anti, and I'm not even talking about the people that are like, I don't think this mask is as effective as they say.
I don't want to wear it.
But it's the whatever. But it's these people that are walking into fucking supermarkets when they goddamn well know.
And starting a fist fight with a security
And so,
guard.
yeah, I just shared that video the other
Yeah,
day.
the Home Depot security guard got fucking
knocked out by a fucking.
Well, no, he got pushed around. It
and
was a good shove and fight.
And then some random guy came and fucking chokeholded the anti-masker.
It was awesome because
was
some random dude in camo,
Yeah.
which you would assume would go the other way. But
Yeah.
anyways, this
Came up
this random dude in camo, whatever, comes up. This guy shoving the shit out of the security guard and like actually starting to win. He chokeholds the guy and just like holds on for
And, like,
dear
waits
life
for the cops to
and
come.
pulls him to the ground.
Yeah.
And
the girlfriend's, who is also not
Yeah.
wearing a mask, is like, please let him go, please. And he's like, no, fuck you. You're assaulting a man. Like,
yeah, you're assaulting a peace officer. Like, I'm gonna fuck you up.
well, he's not an actual peace officer. He's just a fucking security guy. But
It's the same charge though, isn't it?
no, oh, absolutely not. No.
For private security?
No, if it's not a cop, no. You can even assault a cadet, and it's not the same charge.
Oh, good to know.
As far as I understand, you are absolutely allowed to intervene in a fight like that.
Oh yeah.
If somebody is,
Well, especially because he was clearly not hurting the guy. He was not assaulting him. He was just like
he was restraining him.
he was restraining
Yeah,
him. Yeah.
and you are allowed to
More or less.
see, you're allowed to citizen's arrest for theft and shit only when you're an agent of the person that owns the property. But
if
for
you're, like-
assault, I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, you're like helping the
Well,
guy. That's
he's helpless,
yeah,
right? And you assaulted the person assaulting them. It's
defense of another.
in Canada we have like equivalent force,
Yeah.
which if someone is using fists, you can use your fist to fight them. If someone
Yeah.
has a knife, you can use a knife. If someone has a gun, you can use a gun.
Yeah, I was actually trained with this in martial arts of like at which point we would be allowed to use like whatever our training, like
Yeah,
lethal
it's-
force or
it's like
like maiming somebody. It was like
Yeah.
it was equivalent force.
Equivalent force, I
Yeah.
think, is what the actual
Basically
legislation is
the
called.
same charter of rights that police survive under
Should. Yeah.
which they don't because
No.
unions, but whatever, that's
Yeah.
a different conversation.
That's a different argument. We've had it before, but the average, in Canada at least, if someone has a knife, you can stab them.
Knife them yet
You shouldn't,
or smack the
obviously.
shit out of them at
But
least.
if it's self-defense, but you can't shoot someone who has a knife, though.
Right.
Because it's not equivalent force. Which I think, honestly, is more or less fair.
Yeah.
Because I always say, like, I'm very libertarian. I'm very, like, like, don't fuck with my shit, I won't fuck with your shit, right? And a lot of libertarians were like, well, don't fuck with my property and I won't have to kill you. But
Kids tromping around on your vegetables does not equal shotgun to the back.
I agree. Which I think a lot of libertarians are like, fuck you, I can defend my property. Like, don't trespass if you don't want to be killed. I mostly am under the life over property kind of. I think
Right.
life is pretty. I was gonna say sacred, but
Not in America.
yeah, whatever. Anyway,
Property is sacred, guns are sacred, life is not.
But let's debate my status here, where I said I wasn't gonna hire anti-maskers. Do you want another shot? Is that why you're holding this fucking shot glass?
No, but I will finish off the cognac.
Okay.
I'll sip it. I won't shoot it because it's good.
But
I agree with it fundamentally. Like, I commented on like this
Yeah, I know
guy
you
that
did. I
like,
know you did.
and he was like, it's like you shouldn't have to wear a mask, blah blah. I'm like, oh yeah, and seatbelts are pretty fucked up too, right? Those don't help.
well,
And
so-
then he's like, yeah, actually, you shouldn't have to wear a seatbelt. I'm like, oh, okay, so you're like straight anarchist.
Well, here's the thing. Is that the person we're talking about accused me? They're like, "Oh, I thought you were a libertarian, Willows." And then my business partner actually was able to chime in and commented, "Isn't it an extension of the NAP of giving me a communicable disease that you could have prevented?" Like,
NAP,
non-aggression principle.
right? Yeah.
Don't hurt
So-
me, I won't hurt you. If you're giving me a disease, it's not the same as punching me in the face,
Right,
but
so-
it is.
So I'll segue off of that. It's the difference of, fuck, what do they call it? I just lost it. It's like the policing, it's government's ability to police its population versus regulate it. So regulation is rules, it's nuance, it's it's about policy this way or that. Policing is like preventing one person from endangering or harming another. So the policing policy is what the government is basically initiating to force mask mandates, because if you don't wear a mask, you hurt other people. It's not protection of yourself. It's not political. It's not religious. You're hurting other people. So like, it's the same thing with libertarian principles.
Yes, I 100%. I agree with you. I'll go on record here saying I don't think the government should be mandating masks. I don't think the government should exist. But with libertarian principles, libertarianism and most of anarchism is built on the NAP, which is the non-aggression principle, which is you are not allowed to show aggression to anyone else. You can't assault them. You can't yell at them. You can't whatever, unless they do it first.
Right.
That's what the NAP is. And some people extend it to, okay, well, if you show aggression against my property, I can fucking shoot you in the face with a shotgun, right?
Right.
But how I interpret it is someone assaults you, you can fight them back, but you can't just assault someone. You can't just punch someone for no reason.
Right, because they're not a libertarian.
Don't. So, and I personally think that giving me COVID is violating my NAP.
Yeah.
And we don't have to have a government mandate for that to be a thing. But I think what a lot of these anti-maskers, number one, don't think COVID is real.
Yeah.
Or they're like, oh, I made this post in a libertarian group, and a lot of people agreed with me, but then a lot of people said, oh, I'm just supposed to fucking wear a mask every time I have a cold to fucking make sure you don't fucking...
Yeah.
That's what I said, is that...
Absolutely.
China and Japan already do that.
Because
Korea,
they have billions of people in a very small area.
And we were talking about it yesterday, China's economy is past everyone else's now. Like, it's just these people want to make such a stand against the government.
So they want to make a stand against like anyone that's telling them what to do.
But they don't. But to the point, like, you know what anarchism is? Anarchism is making pierogies in your kitchen and selling them without a health license.
Right.
Anarchism is planting a tree, against your homeowners association that needs you to have a lawn.
Right.
Like, anarchism is driving safely and not hurting anyone without a license. Anarchism is getting married without a license, without telling the courts, right?
Anarchism is not what you think it is. Like, anarchism is...
Anarchy means no masters in Latin. Yeah. It doesn't mean no rules.
It doesn't mean chaos.
No, it means no masters. It
doesn't mean violence.
No masters is literally what it means.
Yeah.
And in anarchist system doesn't rely on a government. It relies on everyone agreeing, hey, we're going to fucking die if we don't work with each other.
Yeah.
Let's do that. What are you good at, buddy? You can make houses? Please make our houses. I can make wine. I'll make our wine. And
like, anarchism is fundamentally liberal.
Oh, 100%.
Because
100%.
You're minding your own fucking business. Conservatism is, I believe that what I believe is the moral good, and therefore everyone in the world should abide by what I believe is the moral good.
It's individualism versus collectivism.
It's more like individualism.
So here's the thing, though. I'm pretty individualist.
Right.
But I believe in anarchy as a system because I personally believe that the free market kind of pulls up the because a lot of people, okay, so for an idealistic, like, left anarchist society to exist, you need everyone working together for a common good.
Right.
Right? That's not going to fucking happen because people are selfish, right? So I think by throwing in some...
Well, you need one bastard out of 100 to ruin
everything, yeah. But so I think by throwing in a little bit of right and a little bit of money and a little bit of capitalism in there, now all the selfish people want to help everyone because it makes them more money.
Right.
Right? Because I want to provide, like, let's take a group of 100 people, right? Someone's like, well, I'll just grow a bunch of plants because I'm good at growing fruit, so I'll grow fruit and feed everyone because I want everyone to be fed. But then someone who's super good at growing fruit is like, well, why the fuck would I grow fruit and just give it away? Fuck you guys, and doesn't do anything. But now we introduce capitalism to it, and he's like, wait, I can make money if I feed everybody.
But the problem is in that you have inevitably those bad people, the bad 1 in 100, they can become effective grifters where they can get something for nothing. They can get currency for nothing, which we know many people that get something for nothing.
And I think 9 out of 10 times, maybe 8 out of 10 times, it's the government or the ruling body that allows that to happen. I think in a truly free market community, I think you see less of that.
Right, but it has its limitations on population and size.
I think with
under 500 people, perfect. You get that over 1,000, you get that over 10,000, you get over 50,000, over 100,000, over 1 billion people.
No, yeah,
those grifters, they can float around enough that they can steal from everyone.
I think
indefinitely.
I think 8 billion people on the earth. I think
it's too many.
I think you're right.
It needs to be like 80 people.
I think you're right.
80 people max.
Well, the Hutterites. The Hutterites.
They cap their colonies at 150.
In Manitoba, the Hutterites, I think it's 300, isn't it? Or is it 150?
I think it's 150.
Okay, so we have a religious group in Manitoba called the Hutterites. They're like, literally, it's like Manitoba, North Dakota,
if you
Saskatchewan.
If you know what Amish is,
It's
Hutterites are basically that plus technology.
Yeah, it's Amish but technology. And every time their colony hits, Tyler says it's 150. I'll believe him because he grew up in these neighborhoods.
I'm pretty sure.
They split in 2.
Yeah.
And they make 2 colonies and they have no governing, like it's a communist.
Yeah,
it's
anarcho-communist. The pastor and the deacons are the leaders of the community.
And they're only leaders because God is a leader and they're just
subservient to
what do you call it? Like
they're subservient
God
to the
speaks
faith.
through them, right?
Yeah.
But when they hit 150, they split into 2 because they realized that anything over that gets too fucking complicated.
It's too complicated. It becomes corrupted.
And then they marry each other from different colonies. They have like a sister colony, and they all marry each other, so they don't do like any inbreeding or anything.
Yeah. They colonies associate, so they don't have incest. And
which
inbreeding.
Is brilliant. I fucking love Hutterites.
They're working great. Like,
dude, you ever make
if you've ever
make
been,
friends with Hutterites? I don't want to like snitch on them, but you ever make friends with Hutterites? Like you do some work for them, or you do trade where they're like, you drink? You're like, yeah. Like, let me show you something. And they got these fucking distilleries in their basements. Like they have winemaking operations. Like
they drink.
Like they're killing it.
That's an example of like drinking age, legal drinking age. Most Hutterites get drunk for the first time at like the age of 7, because they have community feasts. And at these feasts is wine and beer, and they don't punish the kids for like sneaking a glass of wine. What they do is they let that kid sneak a glass of wine, suffer, get the hangover, and they'll be like, "See what happens."
Well, I get that's
so they get it out of their system by the time they're 18 years old.
That happened to my dad. My my father. He doesn't drink. He drinks a glass of wine with dinner. That's it. But his father got him drunk when he was like 16, and he puked and everything, and like didn't drink till he was like 26.
Yeah, it's like giving a kid a whole pack of cigarettes so they don't smoke.
Yeah. Yeah. So, hey, we tied back to like one of our original conversations on drinking age. But what was I talking about before Hutterites? Anarchism, masks, yeah. So wear a mask because, well, I guess these people don't believe that COVID is harmful or is as bad as it is. Whatever. It doesn't matter what I think, because you're gonna think whatever you think. But if COVID is real, then giving me COVID is, when it was preventable, is kind of an assault, right? And you might say, okay, well then I'm supposed to wear a mask when I have the flu? Yeah, right? Yeah, be nice. Be nice to your fucking neighbors. Being a libertarian, being a fucking anarchist isn't just about not being told what to do by the fucking government. It's about being courteous and respectful to your fellow man, for your fellow people. Sorry, that was problematic. But this pissed a lot of people off when I said I'm not going to hire anti-mask people.
I was going to say, like, sum that up for me. It's like lower intelligence, lack of critical thinking. Like, honestly, like,
do people,
how I can't even conceive masks being a bad thing.
I can conceive forced mask being a bad thing. And that's what someone who believes, someone I know that I respect believes that masks are useful, but the government shouldn't be forcing us to use them.
Right.
Which, my counter-argument, a broken clock is right twice a day.
My counter-argument is people are stupid, and if you don't force them to do it,
the
they won't.
government is incompetent and fucking 20 years behind.
Also, people are incompetent.
But they got this one right.
Yeah.
It's not the government saying that masks work. It's fucking virologists. Like,
it's common sense.
Why is this a fucking political issue?
Surgeons have been wearing masks for a while.
Why do dentists wear masks? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like...
Would you be happier if your dentist didn't wear a mask and just spit in your mouth the entire time he did a procedure?
Or when they cut you open, they're just spitting in your...
Yeah, you'd be like, please don't do that.
Well, no, and why is most of it the dominant Asian countries wear masks when they're sick?
It's a lack of understanding of the consequences of your action on your community.
One of my Chinese friends was telling me, and he's like born in China. He was telling, and he lives here now, but he was telling me that if you get somebody sick, the community like shames you.
Right.
They're like, oh, you fucking
it's
got
like
them.
Assaulting someone.
They're like, oh, you got them fucking sick, and that's why you wear a mask.
Right.
Because people are like, oh, the mask doesn't even prevent you from getting it. It's like, no, it prevents you from spreading it. Like,
see, this is what I love about going to America, because you can see how the other side lives. When I say the other side, I mean the ignorant side. And seeing someone like on a subway just sneeze without covering their mouth or attempting to like sneeze down, like just projectile sneezing in the direction of 10 other people.
Why I get
it's like, what the fuck did you just do? It's like, I want to hit you.
I get strep throat every year pretty much.
Yeah, same.
For like 2 days.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm just upset. Even when I was a kid. I get strep throat.
Same. I get like strep or pretty much strep.
And I'm not just saying like a sore throat that I think is strep throat. I've gone to a doctor. They've like give me
you test. You got to stay home.
Yeah, it's strep throat.
Yeah.
I haven't gotten it in 2 years.
Nope. Same.
You know what I've been doing in public? Wearing a fucking mask. Like,
yeah.
Dude, I'm wearing a mask after this is all done. Honestly.
Yeah. Every time I'm sick, I'm gonna wear a mask, and if someone looks at me funny, I'm just gonna be like.
Maybe I won't wear it in the pub, but I'll wear it in a fucking grocery store, man. Like, these fucking people.
Yeah, like,
dude,
on planes, 100%.
Yo, 100%.
I went on a flight. I mean, granted, it was only a 3-hour flight, but it was totally fine wearing a mask the whole time. You're just sitting. You're not exerting yourself. The only time that I resent wearing a mask is when I'm like lifting hundreds of pounds of shit and like doing basically CrossFit. I'm like, I'm about to pass out.
Do you wear a mask on your job site?
No.
Okay, I wear a mask every day.
I don't wear a mask on my job site because I've been on the same job site for 5 months, and they don't go anywhere.
Why didn't we record a podcast last week, Tyler?
Because my girlfriend.
Because you were quarantining for COVID.
Yeah, so my girlfriend's a preschool teacher, and she was in direct contact with the kid that tested positive. But I mean, like,
but we're okay now.
Out of abundance of caution, she was quarantined. I was quarantined.
Yeah, I didn't see you for a week. We didn't do a podcast.
Right. So I'm legitimately careful, but like, it's kind of like an agreement between me and this client. We don't really bother because we spend so much time around each other. He works from home. I work at his home. I see Willows once a week, and that's it.
Well, me and my business partner don't wear masks around each other.
Right. Your bubble
because-
is very small.
Yeah, we work together every day. But I wear a mask at all the farmers markets I go to. I wear a mask bartending. Like
Yeah.
I wear a mask all day.
Right. And when I do weekend jobs, I wear a mask. When I go do a
Okay.
quote, I wear a mask. When I go to the store, I wear a mask. When I go to the restaurant, I wear a mask. Like
So
I
here's-
always wear it, except for like at the place where I go to every single day because I've been there for 7 fucking months.
So here's I gotta piss quick. So I'll leave you with a talking point. The same people that are telling me I can't discriminate and hire people that don't want to wear masks are also saying that you can't discriminate against them
For
not wanting to wear a mask. Like,
right.
what's the cognitive dissonance there? Like, why do these people think what they believe is okay? You know what I mean? Like, and
Well, that's a that's a kind of a perfect case study of like the political right, which is they believe they have the moral high ground. And when you believe you have the moral high ground, you mean you believe that you have the right to enforce your morals upon others. Because if you are morally correct, you are by definition correct. Like objectively, you're correct. And if you're objectively correct, you can make other people behave the way that you believe that they should behave. So that's what makes the right side so dangerous. I guess radical left and radical right kind of get into that same realm of moral correctness. And wearing a mask wouldn't be a question if it was not made into a political issue by our beloved Trump. Like, he was the first person that made masking a political issue. You have Bolsonaro making masking a political issue. You have Xi Jinping making masking a political issue. Because Trump, the most watched, observed political leader during the pandemic, said masking
the Democrats want you to mask.
Right. It was made a political issue. If it was never made a political issue and said, this just makes sense because the scientists say it makes sense, and the scientists don't give a fuck about anything except being right.
Yeah. But the scientists...
We wouldn't be talking about it.
But the scientists are all paid off, though.
100%. No, you can't pay off scientists. Like, a real scientist cannot be bought to be like, oh, change your opinion.
Because they don't give a shit.
No, they're like, fuck you. That's not what I do.
Swine flu.
Mm-hmm.
That was 2008, I want to say.
Later.
Later? No.
A little bit. Around there. Maybe starting 2008. But it was like during Obama's administration.
Yeah.
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 Started in the U.S.
Do you remember
Fun
this?
fact.
Swine flu?
Yep.
Okay. So, fun fact, H1N1, which was swine flu, which happened in the late 2000s,
30
was
million.
actually the same virus that Spanish flu was.
Right.
Fun fact.
30 million people in the U.S. got it.
And how many died?
Not very many. Like 30,000.
So, I got vaccinated. And I remember this story. I remember it very vividly because my mother drove us to get vaccinated because she was freaking out.
Yeah.
And she ran through a school bus with its stop sign up.
Right.
Which is like a big fine.
Oh, huge, yeah.
And they took a picture of her license plate. And she went back and talked to the driver, like crying. And was like, I'm just trying to get my kids vaccinated. And he's like, fine. And like threw away the ticket or whatever.
Yeah.
Or the picture, and like didn't report it. But that's the only reason I remember it. But I got vaccinated against swine flu, right? But I remember people were like, people were talking about it. I was pretty young. I think it was in grade 7. People were talking about it, but no one was like, "Oh, the liberals think swine flu is a thing." Like, it was just like, "Oh, there's a virus, get a vaccine." Like, we didn't politicize it.
Right, because...
Correct me if I'm wrong. Like, we didn't.
Because you had Obama in office, and he was not interested in fucking politicizing a virus.
And who, like, Harper was our prime minister at the time.
Yeah.
And he was super right.
Yeah, he's like, I don't give a fuck.
Well, because it's a virus.
Yeah, no, it's not controversial.
I don't understand.
Trump was a trailblazer by making a fact of science controversial.
Trump
is a genius.
I love Trump.
Like, bar none, he's worth less than $1 billion.
Oh yeah,
but he swings at, or he walks around at like 5 billion, but in reality, he walks around at
with the confidence of a trillionaire.
Yeah, but in reality, he's worth like he's worth like 3% of what Zuck is.
Well,
he's a fucking joke.
We were reading a Forbes article.
He's a joke.
That 90% of billionaires made money in the pandemic.
Yeah, he didn't.
Trump did not. Yeah.
Yeah, no, he dropped 300 spots on the billionaires list.
But what he says is, well, I was serving my country.
No, you didn't have a fucking business. Like, here's the definition of Trump's business. He got a big inheritance from his father,
Fred Trump.
He bought a bunch of property, lost money on all of it, used those losses to write off any money that he ever made.
He lost $1 billion in 1 year.
He basically broke even for 30 years.
Wrote that off on his taxes for the rest of his life.
Right, and then he got the Apprentice deal. So he did the Apprentice,
which I will say,
which was very lucrative.
No, number one, really lucrative, but also was, I don't know if this was conscious. That man belongs on TV.
Yeah.
100%.
He's a personality. He's
100%.
Actor. Yeah.
That's how he won the election, he belongs on fucking TV.
So he did The Apprentice, and his dividends from The Apprentice offset all the losses of every other business venture that he did, because he did not create The Apprentice.
Have you ever watched The Apprentice?
A little bit.
I have never watched it.
So he did
I just know you're fired.
Right. He did not create it. He did not write it. He did not produce it.
No, you don't.
He was like
Gordon Ramsay didn't create Kitchen Nightmares.
Exactly.
Like,
so
fucking Regis Philbin didn't create fucking Jeopardy. Like,
so Kitchen Nightmares.
Or
sorry.
Who Wants to Be a Minor? Sorry.
Who wants to be a minor?
Don't correct me in the fucking comments. I know I'm just drunk.
The Apprentice was the only profitable thing Trump has done in the last 15 years. He writes off his Apprentice dividends every year on his business losses, which is like shitty MLMs, scams, shitty real estate buys, shitty business practices, whatever shitty shit that he's up to. Like, that all gets written off. His Apprentice dividends just ran out during his presidency.
Yeah.
So he has his presidency salary, I guess, that he's forgoing. He's not taking. I guess he doesn't need it.
Oh yeah, he did forgo the.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's
donated.
It's a drop in a bucket.
He donated his salary to the Parks division or something.
Right. It's a drop in the bucket at the end of the day for, like, when you're talking about millions or hundreds of millions.
Yeah, 200 grand is whatever.
It's jack shit.
It's a rounding error, right? Like,
it's a publicity stunt.
Yeah, 100%. Oh, 100%.
So he is
donating his salary to Parks got him more votes than it costs, like the money.
Right. He's a bullshit billionaire pandering to the working class that somehow thinks that backing the billionaire attitude, like the bullshit grifter billionaire attitude, will somehow make them a billionaire one day.
So here's what I'll say.
I can't even conceptualize how shitty he is.
Doesn't he live well though?
Yeah, he is rich.
So here's what I'll say.
But he's not half as rich as he says he is.
I don't give a shit if you're losing money every year. If you can live in a gold fucking tower and bang porn stars, I'm fucking a happy man. Like,
well, that's exactly that's the Trump base. Is I wish I was doing well enough that whether or not I'm doing well, I can bang porn stars and live in a gold penthouse.
The fucking,
like, that's what matters to America.
Stormy Daniels comes out and says, "Yeah, he had an affair with me, a porn star," and his voting base goes,
I love Stormy Daniels.
The two things that made me like him more, was that he was getting peed on by Russian prostitutes, because fuck yeah,
why not?
And he dodged the draft.
Right.
Because he said he had like shin splints.
Yeah, rickets.
Dude.
Bone spurs.
Fuck
bone spurs.
Bone spurs. That's what. Yeah. Fuck the draft.
Yeah.
that made me respect him more.
Yeah.
And dude, you're banging fucking Russian prostitutes? Fuck yeah.
I cannot emphasize this more. I was pro-Trump up until late 2020.
I don't know if I was ever. I'm still okay. So pro-Trump, I think he's an idiot, but I'm pro.
I was Trump neutral.
I
was not anti-Trump. I was Trump neutral.
No, because we were in like 2019 when we had a podcast, we predicted the election.
Yeah.
And I think we were both like, I want Trump to win. Yeah. I still wanted Trump to win against Biden.
Yeah.
I think Trump is exactly what America deserves.
Fair. Yeah.
I think he's really entertaining.
Yep.
And I think he hasn't actually caused any damage to America. I think this shit.
No, he hasn't. But I think I've said this previously on our political pundit podcast episodes.
We had a 3.5 hour election episode if you want to go watch that.
So my genuine opinion on Trump is that he did not do the damage, but he is a catalyst for that part of America because like
they didn't have like a guiding stone.
Right.
Before,
yeah.
like...
So presidents don't do anything.
No.
It's they set the narrative, and the narrative favored people that should not have a narrative favor their beliefs.
So here's what you're going to be like, the president doesn't do anything. It's the Senate and the House. I say
it's the Senate, the House, the cabinet members, the fucking like
a
thousand people actually do things.
Everything you just mentioned doesn't do anything. It's the secret council.
It's the cabal.
You ever watch?
It's the Jews.
You ever watch Scandal?
I have not.
I haven't either. My ex-girlfriend used to watch it, and I would like.
So neither of us have watched
it. She'd be like watching it on Netflix.
Okay,
while I'm working, and I watched a bunch of episodes just because I was in the room.
Yeah.
But basically, what that's about, it's a secret council that controls the president.
Yeah.
And they like make a call and
it's like House of Cards is very much like that.
Yeah, but even like more like there's an episode where they need to like kill a journalist, so they like crash a plane with a phone call, like shit like that,
like Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. Anyway, but we still gotta have like a conspiracy episode. But
please.
But yeah, I do honestly think that shit exists.
Yeah, I agree.
For a second, I don't think the president. I think when you get elected president, your cell phone rings.
Yeah.
With an unknown number, and you're like, nobody has this number. Right. I'm president of the United States. Who the fuck is this? And they go, listen to me very carefully. This bill, this bill, this bill, this bill, and they're one super left, one super right, like whatever. You need to vote yes on all of those. In 16 days, somebody's going to come in asking for this. You need to say this. In 7 months, 14 days, put in your calendar. Or it's already in your calendar.
Yeah, it's already in your calendar.
Somebody's going to walk into a meeting. They're going to ask for this. You retort with this. They ask for this. You say, okay, I'll settle on this. And you're like, that doesn't make any sense. So like, beep.
It will.
Yeah. For a second.
I believe all of that stuff exists at the same time. None of it. Like
Occam's razor, right?
I
Simplest
believe,
explanation is the most logical.
Right. I believe in infinite complexity and also complete simplicity.
So I believe the universe.
Right.
I think the universe is the most complicated, unimaginable thing. And at the same time, I just think we're fucking monkeys that somehow got this far.
Got a hold of liquor. Figured out how to ferment some fruit.
You watch Godzilla vs. Kong?
Of course.
Oh, I didn't. Did you watch it, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch that shit.
There was a lot of Asian people screaming like Asians.
No, I think it takes place in America, right? Oh, no, it doesn't.
No, it's in Lake Tokyo.
Okay. Did you actually watch it?
Yeah.
I feel like you did.
A while ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Came out like a week ago.
Godzilla versus
King Kong. 2021. Came out like a week ago.
Okay, we're thinking of a different film.
Okay, fuck you. It's like the big fun fact, the top grossing film of the pandemic. because theaters are opening back up in like
Right,
Florida and Texas. Yeah. Made like $100 million or something, or even less. When Avengers like Endgame made $1 billion opening weekend. Like,
Yeah. What was the other Godzilla verse? It came out like 2019.
oh, there's been 4 in this universe.
Yeah.
There was Kong Skull Island,
Right.
Godzilla King of the Monsters. There was an Godzilla 2014 or whatever. King of the Monsters, I think it was 2019. Kong Skull Island, and then this is like the 4th in that universe.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like Pacific Rim.
That's not related to this at all.
Isn't it?
No.
Fuck.
Do you like Atlantic Rim?
I like getting rimmed.
Me too. Jesus Christ.
And on that note, why the fuck aren't you wearing a mask?
Thank you for listening to
All Call Me on This Point podcast.
the podcast where we debate business topics and fucking just rant
And
about
Godzilla.
whatever. All right, whatever. My name is Willows. That's Vote Willows, VOTEWILLOWS on everything.
I still don't know how you do that when you're not sober.
Tyler the Underscram.
Builder at the Instagram.com.
Good luck figuring that one out.
Tweeter us at
Alcohol Beyond This Point on
Podcast.
Instagram. Alcohol Beyond This Point podcast on Facebook. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. If you're listening right now, please comment where you're listening from. Our demographics are all fucking over the place, so I'd really love to hear where you're listening from. Share it with your friends and share it with your enemies. And literally, you're the only people keeping me alive right now.
I was gonna say fuck you, but yeah, that
No,
too.
you hate the audience. I love the audience.
No, I say fuck you in a
We
comrade.
we broke like 20 unique listeners a little bit ago,
Fantastic.
which is like, thank you.
It's
honestly.
like 20 more than are in the room right now.
I don't
so.
have 20 friends, so thank you so much. I like, unironically, I'm not fucking around. Like, thank you. Like, it makes me feel good. So
This is cathartic. We do it with or without you, so fuck you. Thank you.
I love
Whatever it
you,
is.
not fuck
Either
you.
one of the two.
whatever.
Thank you.
Okay.
Need like a nice cling.